Chapter 8, Mission to Thay. Now I thought Thay was in some sort of demi-plane, but it is on the main map of Faerun. The Red Wizards themselves are dedicated to creating a nation of undead. They love the darker necromantic magic. There's something called the Council of the Zulkurs, and that's 8 of the most powerful wizards, led by Zastam. Zastam's new arrival and his leadership has split the faction down the middle. One lot like researching and studying this dark magic, think Sith or Slytherin. The other half want to use it for power and to destroy everybody. This is kind of the Allies faction with Zastam, and over in the Cult of Dragon it's led by Severin the Red, who was wanting to gain the power of the Dragon Mask. The underling to Severin the Red is Wrath Modar. Wrath secretly wants to overthrow Severin, so it could be possible to use that as part of your finale to this campaign to twist the odds in the favour of the party. Now it's Knight Ilmic who will teleport the PCs to Thay, unless they have an airship, unless they want to travel themselves, whatever, no rules, but the easiest thing is you're there. It's isolated, it's windswept, and it's covered in hordes of the undead. On a plateau 2,500 miles east of Waterdeep, there's a fortress with luxurious rooms and the doors have no locks. That is the location this will start at in Thay. But let's skip back. The council end, there's Leosin. He will present the party with warrants saying this should keep you safe. It's kind of a peace agreement for the party as they are envoys of the council. But it doesn't have to be honoured at the other end in Thay. They make their own rules. Leo will say you must address all members of Thay with their full title. Chief Commander, Operating Officer, Nailmik. And therefore, this is an opportunity that my party said, they have to say our full names, do they? And they wrote out some really long, stupid names that every time I addressed them, I had to read out like a minute of stupid names, and that's how we played it out. So once they teleport to this rocky outcrop plateau, whatever you want to call it, they're told to wait, hang around and wait, and so they can overlook the undead outside swarming away. And eventually an audience is granted with Thatchian Commander Eseldra Yeth, who is a vampire. There's 10 wizards there and 5 wights, and any undead you want to populate the rooms with. Eseldra will explain that we are red wizards, they are red wizards on the other side, we know their weaknesses, we know how they think. We'll be powerful allies if an agreement can be made. So Yeth is very straight-laced, no humour, just you. Talks to one player, now you talks to that player. What is it you want us to do? What will you bring? What leverage have you got to allow us to in the future? Maybe to be accepted a bit more, maybe to study with less people looking over our shoulder. Ultimately, the end of the world is upon us, so everyone needs to be stopping Tiamat's return. It does suggest on page 76 a load of persuasion checks. I didn't bother with that. I say the answers from the players have to be truthful and polite, and if they're humourful, quippy, impolite, or they don't use the full titles of people, I put a cross next to it, their response. They will then be ignored for the rest of the discussion, silenced with maybe their mouths disappearing, however you want to run it. After discussions, it's like, okay, we'll meet again in the morning. You're welcome to stay here while I think it over. So they need to hang about. They go to bed for a long rest, but they don't rest easy. When they're asleep, and players will say, I don't sleep, I meditate. But those that do sleep have nightmares. They find themselves on their own in cauldrons, surrounded by red wizards who have them in chains in an interrogation kind of scenario. A new red wizard will come forward and say, we have further questions for you. Now maybe it looks to them each individually like an old enemy, like their parents. You can have it whatever you want, but this red wizard will ask them 5 questions each, which you need to prepare a few of ahead of time, depending on your abilities. What's the strategy? What will be done to protect us? Are you after being buffed? Will this annoy any of your goody-goody party or factions? Will anyone try and stab us in the back? Are we being betrayed? Are you going to turn on us afterwards? So you probe the PCs and then they wake up, and if they get a DC 18 wisdom save with a disadvantage, then they do remember what happened in the night. Otherwise, they just wake up not rested, their health points not regained. Or you could say you're down to half hit points. You don't know why. You just feel rough. Any lies in the questioning will result in pain, will result in lost hit points. 3d6 psychic damage or whatever you dictate. They wake up, they're called for a beautiful breakfast. Hospitality is put on for them in this inhospitable place. Night Ilmic will come back and talk to players who were nice and polite at least. And thanks or no thanks and farewell. Click. Teleported back to an abandoned farmhouse just outside Waterdeep, and maybe have them roll perception to discover a human finger bone upon their person, which can be snapped, and it acts like a scroll of protection. Now, it doesn't say how they know this, so you might have to say you just instinctively know it, you've seen one of these before, you've heard about them, read about them, or just say, look guys, it's a scroll of protection. And add to that what you will, and if you do add to it or do it differently, I'm curious. Let me know. Let others know who are watching this video and prepping. Lay your versions in the comments, and I'll see you next time.